In this video, we're putting head-to-head the Lenovo Yoga 9i Gen 8, 13th gen from Intel, and the Samsung Galaxy Book3 Pro 360. Both have the Intel i7 1360p and integrated graphics. They both have 2-in-1 touchscreen displays. They both come with pens. So the question is, which one is right for you? Now, the best comparison that I have right now on my hands is the Pro 360. Now, the price point between these two models is very similar. About $1899 for the Book3 Pro 360 and around $1799-ish at the recording of this video for the Yoga 9i. Now, you obviously get a little bit more from the screen perspective by going with the Book3. It's an OLED display, so it's going to be more color accurate, going to be a little bit brighter, and it's going to be sharper. This is still a 3K display on the Yoga 9i, so it's still a great display. However, you're definitely getting a little bit more bang for buck because it is also a 16-inch screen. Both come with 16 gigs of RAM and both come with 1 terabyte SSD as they're configured before me. Now, the big question is, do you want a smaller form factor? You can get the Book3 360 in a 13.3 inch or a 15.6 inch. So when 2023 came around, they didn't necessarily make the upgrade for the smaller model to say a 14 inch 16:10 aspect ratio. They basically just upgraded it with the i7 1360p. The Book3 360, not the Pro 360, is around $1349. So if you're looking for a little bit more apples to apples comparison in regards to the price point, you might want to consider that model. However, you're not going to have a 3K display on the Book3 360. It is a full HD display, 16:9 aspect ratio. Over the past few years, my wife has had her personal information stolen and accounts open without her approval. A while back, we found some of these accounts and took action to eliminate these issues. That's why I'm excited to tell you about today's sponsor, Aura. We've been using Aura to monitor our personal information online for over a year now and have been able to reclaim control of our personal data. Aura will identify data brokers that are exposing your information and automatically submit opt-out requests on your behalf. Anyone can find anything on the internet, including your full legal name, your personal email, your home address, phone number, and even your relatives. This information is accessible because of data brokers who profit by selling your information to robocallers, telemarketers, spammers, and anyone else that wants to learn more about you. Aura will even opt you out of junk mail and telemarketing lists. You can use my link by going to aura.com/BenjiKaiser to try a 2-week free trial to see how many data brokers are sharing your information. Aura's app also features a VPN, password manager, real-time credit and identity theft monitor, internet parental controls, and protects your devices from malware. Aura has almost every internet safety tool you'll ever need, all inside one app. Let Aura do the hard work of keeping you safe online. If you sign up right now, Aura will give you a 2-week free trial with my link in the video description. You'll be shocked at how much of your private information Aura finds exposed over those 2 weeks. It's quite frightening, actually. Aura.com/BenjiKaiser or scan the QR code on the screen right now. I think you'll be very happy with the protection that you receive and the level of comfort that you get by using Aura. We have been extremely happy using it for over a year, and I definitely recommend it. We're going to get to the performance benchmarks in just a little bit, but for now, we're going to talk about the usability and build quality of these two laptops. Now, if you're curious about the exact live pricing at the moment of you're watching this video, head down in the description below and click those links. If you do make a purchase, I'll get a small commission, but at no extra cost to you. But of course, that's what keeps this channel alive and the helpful content coming your way. So I'm so grateful when y'all use those links. Now, taking a look at the webcams, here's a quick sample of the webcams in use. This is the webcam on the Lenovo Yoga 9i and a little sample of the audio for you as well. This is the webcam on the Samsung Galaxy Book3 Pro 360 and a little sample of the audio for you as well. Now, these are both aluminum build quality. You can see the weight and thickness coming up on the screen, which in a way seems a little unfair because we have a 16-inch laptop versus a 14-inch laptop. But like I said, these are the models I have before me, but they're actually very similar. The craziest part is the 14 inch is actually thicker than the 16 inch. So there's really a close comparison here in a lot of ways between these two models. Now, the next thing we're going to look at is the build quality and assembly. As you can see, the bottom cover is fit into the side panel very nicely on the Lenovo Yoga 9i. It looks great. And as far as the tap test is concerned, it's assembled very nicely. Good, sturdy materials, not too much flex, and it doesn't have like a tappy, hollow sound. Very well assembled. Now going ahead and looking at the Book3 Pro 360, once again, assembled very nicely, bottom cover into the side panel, and of course, doing the tap test. This one sounds a little more hollow than the Yoga 9i. So I like the assembly a little bit better on the Yoga 9i just from a tap test and material perspective. Both are great though. Now, one thing I've been checking recently is the flex of the laptop. Very little chassis flex, which is nice on the Yoga 9i, and very little chassis flex on the Book3 Pro 360. So they look very nice. Now, there's a difference in the hinge. You can see here that we have one singular hinge that contains a speaker. So you're most likely going to have better audio experience on the Yoga, and I'll give you a sample of that in just a minute. And then we have the dual hinge configuration for the Book 3. Speaking of the audio, let's do a quick test so you can hear that. Now, as I open and close the lids on each of these laptops, they should open and close easily with one hand, which they do. And then as we slides a little bit on this surface, but normally if you're on a normal desk surface, you're good to go. Doing a screen flex test, the screen is actually quite rigid on the Book3 Pro 360. However, as you all have been watching, I've been seeing in the comment section that you're like, wow, that screen is so bouncy. And the screen is bouncy. It's a very big screen with these two small hinges. So it tends to have a little bit of screen bounce. It's kind of a heavy screen. Whereas with the Yoga 9i, a little bit more flex in the screen. However, the bounce is like almost nothing. It just pops right into place and does a little tiny bounce, almost more of like a vibration, and then stops and locks into place. So overall, I love the usability and the build quality of the Yoga 9i compared to the Book3. Still great, but if I'm going to vote, it's going to be the Yoga 9i. Now let's go ahead and spin these around and check out the trackpad. Now a little bit of an unfair comparison, but what I want to point out is actually how large the 14-inch is compared to the 16-inch. It's probably about 75% of the 16-inch trackpad. And remember, this is a 14-inch model. So really big hats off to Lenovo for putting such a big trackpad on such a small laptop. Now, by far, hands down, the trackpad wins on the Samsung Galaxy Book3 Pro 360 because it is larger and is a 16-inch model. But as far as the click is concerned, they both have nice, quiet clicks, a little bit clickier and snappier on the Yoga 9i, but still a very nice trackpad, assembled to the chassis very well. It doesn't have any rattle. Same with the Book3 Pro 360, but from a quality point, I'm gonna lean towards the Pro 360. It feels a little bit more solid. It's nice, softer, more muted click, so it's not so loud, and it just feels very nice under your finger as you're using it. Now, going ahead and looking at the keyboard deck, obviously the 16-inch laptop has a lot more room, so we're gonna have this numpad here on the right side, gonna have the trackpad shifted over a little to the left, aligning with the main keyboard. Great keyboard. It's got about a short to medium key travel. And then on the Yoga 9i, we have that same kind of short to medium key travel, very reminiscent of most Ultrabooks. Now, as far as the keys are concerned, a little bit more of a plastic feel on these keys, where these keys are plastic, but they have a little bit of a soft touch feel to the top of them. So keyboard, punch for punch, I really like both of them. But I would say that I love these extra feature keys on the Yoga. Now, you can see you can control the fan mode quickly by just clicking this button and it'll cycle through the fan mode. You can do that too over here with the Book3 Pro 360 or, probably the Book3 360. Just go ahead and hit function and you can toggle through the fan modes as well. So just two different ways to do it. Another thing I like about the Yoga 9i is you can immediately blur your background if you're on a call, get into your audio settings, change the brightness, and both have fingerprint readers. Let's check out the ports. As you look at the Galaxy Book3 Pro 360, you have two USB Type-Cs on the left side panel and an HDMI port. On the right side, you have a headphone jack, USB Type-A, and a micro SD card reader. Now, going ahead and checking out the Yoga 9i, you can see we have two USB Type-Cs, USB Type-A, an additional USB Type-C, and the headphone jack, as well as your power button. Now, the question is, what do you want? Do you want HDMI or more USB Type-C? Depends on your workflow. I completely forgot to give you guys a sample of the keyboard and trackpads in use. Here's a quick audio sample for you. Now, one thing that really stands out to me about the Yoga 9i is the rounded chassis design. It is really nice. It's almost like an iPad, the way they've rounded it off. Well, not the more recent iPads, but the older iPads where they had this really nice rounded edge, and it's very comfortable to hold. That's one thing that I noticed is when I was resting my palms and my arms on the laptop when I was using it, it's just very comfortable. These edges, they're not sharp by any means, but they definitely are a hard 90 degree, and so it doesn't feel as just nice on your arms when you're using the laptop. Really quirky, really kind of weird thought process there, but it really stood out as being more comfortable. Now, when you go ahead and put it into, say, tablet mode, this also helped kind of with the comfort as well because it's nice and rounded, so it just fits a little bit more comfortably in your hand. Now, the Book3 Pro 360, though it is a huge laptop, does hold nicely in your hand, but it's kind of harder to grip because of those non-rounded edges. It doesn't kind of conform to your hand as nicely, and it's a little bit sharp here. Not sharp isn't going to cut you, but you just kind of feel that edge, where on the Yoga, that speaker kind of creates this perfect little handhold, and your hand just fits very nicely around it. So much more comfortable as far as using a pen and drawing on the Yoga 9i as compared to the Galaxy Book3 Pro 360. So just from an ergonomics and use case, I really prefer the Yoga 9i. Now, as far as drawing on the actual tablet mode for the laptops and how the pen is stored, I really prefer the Yoga 9i. Now, it's kind of clever to have your pen magnet to your laptop, but that's really poor for storage, like putting it in your backpack or just carrying it around. It could easily get just like bumped off and lost forever. So what I really like about the Yoga 9i is they include a nice little sleeve, very cool material, kind of a faux leather with this nice rough canvas material. And then the pen is mounted right here. So you can see that from the top camera, the pen just slides right out. And now you're good to go with your pen, and it also stores your laptop and protects it. So it's a much more holistic thought process around the pen. Now let's go ahead and slide this over and show you the responsiveness of the pen on the Yoga 9i. You can see it responds very quickly. It's got good light touch to harder press. The hinge for the screen is nice and rigid, so I can literally leave it right about there and push on it, and it doesn't push down. So it actually creates a very nice canvas, where if you go ahead and you push on the Book3 Pro 360, I'm gonna use the same pen, it pushes down really easily. You can see I'm just like kind of barely tapping it with this, it holds in place. So big bonus there for the Yoga 9i having good screen placement. Now, as you can see, I'm drawing on the Book3 as well, and the Book3 is very responsive, has a really nice touch to it, good pen, it doesn't lag, and also you can do thin and thick strokes. So overall, the pens are great on the screens, but the biggest benefit is going to be how the screen hinge on the Yoga 9i is very stiff, so it holds up, so you don't have to hold it with your hand while you're drawing. Really great. Touch sensitivity. You can draw a nice thin line, and then you push harder, it gives you a nice thick line. So the touch sensitivity of the pen is excellent. You can start thin, make it thicker, go thin again, make it thicker. So the combination of the pen and screen is great. A lot of people were wondering about the pen and screen combination, and I think they're a very good combination. Good touch sensitivity and pen sensitivity on the screen. Now, from an efficiency and battery life standpoint, the Galaxy Book3 Pro 360 wins out. The battery size on the Pro 360 is 76 watt hours versus the Yoga 9i at 73.2, but still, the Book 3 gets better battery life, and you'll see in just a moment actually better performance. So it's really cool to see that such a thin and light laptop can not only get great efficiency, but also great performance. You see the battery life coming up on the screen for both of these models, and if you want more battery life, you should choose the Book3 Pro 360. Now, moving on to the performance benchmarks, if you're curious about the exact pricing and availability, or if you want to make a purchase, links will be in the description below. As you can see, for single core performance in Geekbench, they are very close, a 792 versus a 735. Now, as we get into multi-core performance, you can see that we have a 10,000 versus a 9,632. So only about a 400 point difference between the two models, and somehow we're scoring a little bit better multi-core performance in the Yoga 9i. Maybe the way Lenovo configured it, it just has a little bit more ceiling to it. As we move on to Cinebench R23 single core and multi-core, you can see they're still neck and neck for both of those tests. So from simulated benchmark standpoint, they're almost exactly the same. Now, moving on to Photoshop is where we see a little bit of spread in the benchmarks, but barely. We see an 898 out of the Book 3, and we see an 855 out of the Yoga 9i. So either one will work very well for Photoshop. Now, both of these laptops, unfortunately, cannot be upgraded to 32 gigs of RAM. That would be helpful for both of them if the manufacturers allow that upgrade. On top of that, you cannot post-upgrade these laptops. That means after you purchase a laptop, you bring it home to your house, and you pull off the bottom cover, and you swap out the RAM. That is not possible with these laptops. We have soldered RAM to the motherboard. So you're stuck at 16 gigs of RAM for these two models. Bit of a bottleneck. Kind of annoying. Now, because these laptops don't offer a dedicated GPU or a 32 gig upgrade for RAM, I don't personally recommend them for After Effects. I would look into something with a dedicated GPU or the ability to get 32 gigs of RAM if you're a heavy After Effects user. If you're a light After Effects user, you're only doing a little bit of dabbling in your workflow, then they will be fine and you can get away with it. But if this is going to be a dedicated After Effects machine where you're doing a lot of After Effects work, I don't recommend either of these. Now, moving on to video editing, I'm really excited to see that these new i7 1360p processors are killer for 4K video editing, and they can even get away with some 6K video editing. You can see from the drop frames test for both of these laptops that at half quality for 6K BRAW, we're dropping about 128 frames for the Book3 Pro 360 and 580 frames out of 16,177 for the Yoga 9i. So it's incredible to see thin and light laptops with solid battery life and no dedicated GPUs playing back 6K footage. Very, very cool. Now, as we go into the 4K video editing export, you can see that you're gonna have a slight advantage with the Galaxy Book3 Pro 360 over the Yoga 9i, but not by much. It's only about 15 seconds. So really, tomato, tomato, either way, you're in good hands. Now, looking at the 6K export time, it actually pulls off a pretty decent 6K export time at 27 minutes and 28 minutes. But I would say that on average, a good reference is going to be anywhere from about 11 minutes up to 15 minutes. So I just tested the recent Lenovo Legion Pro 7i, and it was able to do the 6K BRAW export in 11 minutes and 43 seconds. So fantastic export time. One of the best on my channel I've seen for a well-priced laptop that has amazing performance. But as far as these are concerned, they would not be what I would choose for a dedicated 6K video editing laptop. But 4K, all day, you'll be in great hands. Now the question is, which one should you buy? Let's talk through it. If you want a laptop for digital art, you want a really nice, clean drawing experience, you want to have the flexibility of turning it into tablet mode or keeping the screen up without it falling back as you're drawing on it, man, the Yoga 9i is the way to go. Especially when you consider the storage capability of the pen inside of the sleeve that contains the laptop. It's just so much more practical on the go. You could just literally bring this with you, shove some papers or even some SD cards like in there to have it on the go. It just is much more practical package that's been offered from Lenovo. However, if you're considering a 13-inch model, you're gonna spend about an extra $400 for this one compared to, say, the Book3 360. Now, talking about the Galaxy Book Pro 360, like I said, around the $1,899 price range. And so it puts you back a pretty penny, and it's a larger laptop. That could be a benefit to you. You have the OLED display, gonna be much more color accurate, a little bit brighter, sharper. You're gonna have a larger trackpad on this 16-inch model compared to, say, something like the Galaxy Book 3, 360. So there's a lot of things to consider here. One of the great things about these two laptops is they are now totally capable of 4K video editing, and you're still getting solid battery life while doing all your productivity tasks and streaming video playback. So the flexibility that these laptops offer is second to none. Let me know in the comment section which one you're considering, and don't forget about the links if you're ready to make a purchase. I'll see you here in the next video.